Hello everybody and welcome to MakeCode Arcade. Today we are going to create a basic platform game. Generally what you would do is press new project, but I've already started a project which is called platform game, and I'm going to jump into here to demonstrate how you can do this. You should be now in the main MakeCode Arcade workspace. You'll notice one of the first things that you see is the onStart command. You'll also know that we have a menu of different block options which we'll investigate a little further in this video. The very first thing that we're going to do is select the option Scene. If we scroll down, you'll notice that there is an option that says Set Tile Map. We're going to click and drag that option into our onStart command. We're then going to click on the tile map option ourselves. You will notice now that we are in our tile map editor. What we can do here is start building our platforms. Over here you'll notice that there are a whole range of different platform options. The platform option I'm going to choose is this one here. From here you can start building your platforms. If you want to delete a particular part of your platform, if you come up here to the eraser button, you can then click on the specific part that you would like to erase. But for now, I'm going to keep building my platforms. Once you've built your platforms, you need to ensure that they are solid. In order to do this, we are going to press the Draw Walls button. You'll notice that the icon will turn red once it's selected. What you then need to do is click on the platforms that you've created. This will ensure that they are solidified, which means that your character can't jump through them. Do this for all of your platforms. Once you've completed your platforms, press Done. The next step in our platform game is adding a background to our scene. To do this, we're going to click on the Scene button just here. We're then going to set our background image. Again, click and drag and pop into the onStart tile. What I'm then going to do is click on the grey image just here. This will allow me to do a couple of different things. If I want to create my own background, I certainly can. I can actually use the paintbrush tool and create a specific background like that. Alternatively, you can go up here to the gallery button and select one that's already been pre-made. I'm going to click on this one that looks like a rainforest. Once you've selected, press Done. The next step in our platform game is incorporating our sprite. Sprites are going to be the characters that are in your game. I'm going to click on the Sprites button here. What I'm then going to do is click on the Set My Sprite button. I'm going to click and drag that, and I'm going to place it underneath my last tile. The very first thing I'm going to do is rename my sprite. At the moment it's called My Sprite, but I'd like to rename it. So I'm going to rename the variable and I'm going to call it Hero. I'm then going to choose what my sprite looks like. To do that, I'm going to click on that grey box. You've got a couple of options here. You can create your own sprite, again, same as before in terms of your background. But what I'm going to do, just to save a bit of time, is click on the gallery, and I'm going to choose from the gallery of different sprites to incorporate into my game. I'm going to choose this one. Once you've chosen your sprite, press Done. The next block we are going to incorporate is in the controller section. We're going to click on controller, and then we're going to insert a button that says Move Sprite with Buttons. We're going to put it underneath our previous block. We're going to change where it says My Sprite to Hero. We're then going to press the plus button here. You'll notice that there are two values, 100 and 100. We're going to change the Y value to 0. The reason we're going to do that is we don't want our character to be able to move up and down on the Y-axis, only across the X-axis. Therefore, that's why we're keeping the X-axis at 100 and the Y-axis at 0. Next, we are going to go to the Sprite section. Here we're going to insert the block that says Set My Sprite X to 0. We're going to put it underneath our previous block. We're going to change My Sprite to Hero, because that's the sprite we're working with currently. Now, where it says X, we're actually going to change that. we're going to change it to make it say AY acceleration, which is just here. And we're going to change the value to 300. What this is going to do is provide gravity within our game. So when our character or our sprite jumps, it will eventually come back down. Now without this particular block, our sprite will just keep on going up, which is not what we want in a game. The next part of creating our game involves setting the location for our sprite on our tile map. In order to do that, we're going to press the scene button. We're going to scroll down to the tile that says place my sprite on top of tile map. We're going to pop it under our last tile. We're going to change my sprite to hero, because again, that's the sprite we're working with. Now from here, we're going to put in some coordinates to where we want our sprite to start. Now, a little tip for you. If you go up to where it says tile map, this will give you a good idea of where the coordinates are. If you look in the bottom left-hand corner, as you are going across your tile map, it will give you coordinates. At the moment, I'm on 0 and 15, and that's where I want my sprite to start. So I'm going to keep those numbers in my head, 0 and 15. What I'm going to do, I'll go back to my main workspace, and I'm going to put those coordinates as my sprite's starting point. The next tile we are going to incorporate, again, is in the scene section. What we're going to do is we're going to select the tile that says camera follow sprite. We're going to place it under our previous block, and we are going to click on hero, as that is the sprite we are currently utilizing. This block will allow the camera to follow this particular sprite throughout the game. And if you've played any platform game, you'll know how important this is. We need our game to have a goal. We want our sprite to be able to achieve something or get to a particular destination. What we're going to do is add another sprite. So again, we're going to go to the sprites menu and click on the button that says set my sprite. We're going to put it under the previous block. Now this time we're going to change the name of our sprite to something different. In this case, I'm going to call it Win. What I'm then going to do is select the type of sprite. In this case, I'm going to go to the gallery and choose one that has already been created. I think a donut is a really good goal for our sprite, so I'm going to click the donut and insert it as our sprite. There's one more thing we need to do, and you'll notice that it says player here. Now the donut isn't our player, it's actually our win goal. So what we're going to do, we're going to add a new kind of sprite, and I'm going to change this to win as well. That means when our player intersects with our donut, which is the win icon, something will happen, and we can code that later. The next thing we are going to do is set a location for our win item, in this case the donut. We're going to go to where it says Sprites, and then we're actually going to take the tile that says set my sprite position. This will pinpoint a specific position for our win item. Where it says my sprite, don't forget to change that to where it says win, because that's the item we want to make a location for. Now this part takes a little bit of trial and error, so you might have to keep going to your game to see what works. But I've come up with the coordinates 230 and 8 for the location of my donut. Again, this will take some trial and error on your end, but keep playing with it and you will find the perfect location for your win item. We now need to incorporate a jump control in our game. To do this, we're going to press the controller icon up here, and we're going to drag the block that says on a button pressed. Drag that into your main workspace. What we then need to do is give the command for our sprite to jump. So we're going to go to where it says sprite, and then we're going to go down to where it says set hero X to 0. Click and drag that block into your A button block. Again, make sure you change your my sprite to hero so we know who we're working with. What we're going to do here, we're actually going to change the X to velocity Y. Now if we go down, we'll see velocity Y is there. And we're going to change this value to -150. Now you're probably wondering what this actually means. On our Y-axis, positive numbers are actually going down the page. When we want our player to jump, our play is going to go up. So we actually want it to go up into those negative numbers. So remember, down, as you go further down your workspace, the numbers will actually increase. So we actually want to go the opposite direction. So if we set our hero to velocity y at minus 150, that will allow our player to jump. Now you might remember we added the gravity feature before. What will happen is our player will then come back down using that gravity block, which we used earlier. The last step that we have to incorporate into our game is allowing our character to win. In order to do this, we're going to go to where it says Sprites. We need to scroll down a little bit to where it says on sprite of kind player overlaps other sprite of kind player. Now, this is where it gets a little bit complicated, but I'll run you through how this is going to work. First of all, let's give it some space. Essentially what this is saying is when one sprite overlaps another sprite, something's going to happen. So what we want to happen is for when our player overlaps our donut, we want the play to win. So how do we do that? At the moment, this is all looking good. On sprite of kind player, so our sprite that's the player, overlaps another sprite of kind. Now, you might remember earlier we changed our sprite to a win. The donut sprite we changed to a win. So we're going to change this end one to a win. So when the two different sprites overlap, something's going to happen. What we're then going to do is go to our game section, and this is where we can insert some really interesting things. So the first thing I'm going to do is click on the game over block and drag it in. Now, when the player hits our donut, we want them to win, okay? But dare I say it, if you were to incorporate other different types of sprites, you could have them as losing things, kind of like obstacles. So there's a lot of flexibility there. What I also want to happen is I want the game to reset after the player has gotten their donut. So I'm going to pop that under there. Fantastic. So as you can see, we have the beginnings of a really interesting platform game that is incorporated coding. Now there are so many other things that you can incorporate to make this a little bit more complicated or different. And the idea is to have a bit of a play, experiment with some of the other tile features, and have fun. Good luck, and we can't wait to see what you come up with.